The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Admiral Zethkar's four eyes narrowed at the holographic display. The Void Nexus, a collapsed star system where space-time itself had fractured, pulsed ominously in the projection. Deep within its chaotic heart lay the Eternal Dawn, a research vessel carrying the galaxy's most brilliant minds in the cure for the Crimson Plague that was devastating 12 worlds. "The mathematics are clear," announced Dr. Vex III, her crystalline form refracting the chamber's lights into prismatic patterns. "No vessel can survive the gravitational anomalies. The temporal distortions alone would tear apart any known hull material. This is a tomb, not a rescue mission." Commander Yilhan of the Serenity Fleet nodded, his massive head, bioluminescent patches dimming with resignation. "Our best ships couldn't penetrate even the outer boundary. The energy readings are off our scales. We must accept that the Eternal Dawn and its crew are lost." That's when Captain Elena Vasquez stepped forward. The human woman was small by galactic standards, barely reaching Yilhan's midsection, but something in her posture made the assembled aliens pause. Her dark eyes studied the swirling maelstrom of the Nexus with an intensity that seemed almost predatory. "With respect," she said, her voice cutting through the chamber's acoustics like a blade. "You're all thinking about this wrong." Admiral Zethkar's mandibles clicked in irritation. "Enlighten us, human. What profound wisdom does your species offer that our combined millennia of spacefaring experience lacks?" Elena smiled, an expression that never failed to unsettle non-humans. "You're trying to fight the Nexus, we're going to dance with it." 3 hours later, the Defiance Edge sat in the staging area at the Nexus boundary. The human ship was an abomination by galactic standards, asymmetrical, patched with at least 7 different hull materials, and bristling with modifications that violated half the safety protocols in known space. Its crew of 12 looked equally mismatched: former pirates, military washouts, scientists with questionable ethics, and engineers who treated physics more like loose guidelines. "Captain," called out Dr. Sarah Chen from her jury-rigged sensor station, "I'm reading massive gravitational flux ahead. The temporal shear will hit us the moment we cross the boundary." "Good," Elena replied, settling into her command chair. "Marcus, how's our special cargo holding up?" Chief Engineer Marcus Rodriguez grinned as he monitored a containment unit that would have given Council safety inspectors nightmares. "The dark matter sample is stable, and the quantum resonance chamber is humming like an angry bee, ready to make some very bad decisions, Captain." The plan was insane by any rational measure. While other species had tried to force their way through the Nexus's defenses with brute strength and advanced shielding, the humans intended to use the anomaly's own chaos against itself. They would inject concentrated dark matter into their ship's quantum field generators, creating a localized space-time bubble that would surf the gravitational waves rather than resist them. "Beginning insertion," announced pilot Jake Madman Morrison as he guided the ship toward the swirling boundary. "Everyone strap in. This is going to be like riding a hurricane inside an earthquake." The moment they crossed into the Nexus, reality went insane. The ship twisted through dimensions that shouldn't exist while time flowed backward and forward simultaneously. Through the viewports, they could see fragments of destroyed ships from a dozen different eras, all existing in the same impossible moment. "Hull stress at 340%, shouted Rodriguez. "We're holding, but barely." "Temporal displacement detected," Chen reported, her voice strained. "We're experiencing chronoton cascade failure. According to my readings, we've been in here for 3 days and -7 minutes. Most species would have retreated. The Zenthari would have calculated the impossibility. The Vorthak would have declared it against the natural order. The Kalari would have written elegiac poetry about the futility of the attempt. But humans had spent their entire evolutionary history surviving impossible situations. When their planet tried to kill them with ice ages, they invented fire and clothing. When diseases threatened to wipe them out, they developed medicine. When they ran out of land, they built boats and sailed into the unknown. The impossible wasn't a barrier to humanity. It was just another problem to solve with insufficient resources and excessive stubbornness. "There," Elena pointed at the sensor display. The Eternal Dawn, caught in a stable pocket near the system's core. Stable is relative, Chen muttered. They're stuck in a temporal loop, experiencing the same 17 minutes over and over. The pocket is collapsing. They have maybe an hour before it implodes. Then we better work fast. Morrison, take us in. Rodriguez, prep the quantum tethers. What followed would later be studied in military academies across the galaxy. The Defiance Edge dove deeper into the Nexus than any ship had ever gone, using controlled explosions of their dark matter reserves to create localized reality distortions that served as stepping stones through impossible space. When their engines failed, they used the ship's artificial gravity to create thrust. When their navigation systems went haywire, they steered by the positions of temporal echoes. Tether connection established, Rodriguez announced as they maneuvered alongside the trapped research vessel. But Captain, the strain on our quantum matrix is incredible. We can pull them out, but we'll tear ourselves apart in the process, Elena finished. How many people on the Dawn? 237, Chen replied quietly. Elena looked around her bridge, at the 11 people who had followed her into hell without question. Each of them understood the mathematics. To save the research ship, the Defiance Edge would have to overload its quantum systems beyond any hope of survival. Well, she said with that unsettling human smile, at least the rescue-to-loss ratio is favorable. Engage tethers. Full power. The ship screamed as reality bent around it. Bulkheads buckled. Conduits exploded. The quantum resonance chamber cracked, leaking exotic radiation that would have been fatal to most species, but merely gave the humans mild headaches and temporary psychic abilities. Tether holding, Rodriguez shouted over the chaos. The Dawn is breaking free of the temporal loop. Through the maelstrom of twisted spacetime, both ships began their impossible journey back to normal space. The Defiance Edge left pieces of itself behind with every reality shift, hull plating, equipment modules, and several unfortunate portions of the galley, but its crew held together through sheer bloody-minded determination and an alarming consumption of stimulants. When they finally tumbled back into normal space, the Defiance Edge was more debris-filled than ship. Emergency systems barely kept life support running. Half the crew was unconscious from exotic radiation exposure. But behind them, intact and whole, came the Eternal Dawn with its precious cargo of scientists and plague cure. 3 months later, Captain Elena Vasquez stood before the Galactic Council once more. The Crimson Plague had been eradicated. Meow, Eternal Dawn's research team had been saved, and the galaxy had learned something new about humans. Your species is certifiably insane, Admiral Zethkar declared, though his tone held more admiration than accusation. Elena shrugged. Maybe, but we're also still here. As she walked away, the assembled aliens could hear her humming an old, human song about the impossible taking just a little longer. Behind her, the holographic display showed the Void Nexus, somehow stabilized by the humans' reckless intervention, now serving as a research station for studying exotic physics. The galaxy had called humans reckless, and they had been right. But they had also learned that sometimes when the impossible needed doing, reckless was exactly what the situation required.